The Royal Enfield Hunter 350, the latest bike offering from Royal Enfield, and we're pleased that Royal Enfield UK have given us this bike to ride and review. So obviously the main comparison for this, for me, was to compare it to the 350 Meteor or 350 Classic that we had just a few months ago. And well, let's start with how it looks. First impressions. I think design-wise, visually, it's a really good-looking bike. It's got that modern look to it, but also retaining some of the classics Royal Enfield features, if you like. Nice-looking 350 single-cylinder engine in there, but it's a really good-looking bike, and visually, yeah, right up my street. Really, really like the way it looks and the styling of it. Quality of the finishes overall, and paint looks excellent. It's metallic grey. And the finish on the frame, again, really nice. Nice matte finishing on the engine and exhaust. All looks really smart, and the quality of it is spot on. Now, the seating position on this bike, I really like. So it's got a low, 800mm seat height. So even if you're, 5'8" or something, you're not going to have any trouble getting your feet flat on this. I'm 5'11", and they are absolutely flat to the floor. Again, not too far to lean forward, nice upright position. Compared to the Meteor or the Classic that we might be more familiar with, it's got a slightly shorter wheelbase. It's a totally new frame design on this. So it's open cradle, different geometry, makes it a slightly more sporty riding position. The pegs are slightly higher than on the Meteor and the Classic. So you're a little bit higher up. You can tuck in behind the tank, and it's a really comfortable position to be in. The bike also has 17-inch wheels on this, which are smaller than the other 350s in the range. That again makes it more agile. The turning circle is a lot tighter than on the other bikes, and it's a slightly more sporty feel to it, if you like, compared to the Classic and the Meteor, which makes sense. I rode this on last time I rode this was a couple of days ago. I was on a Friday through Friday afternoon traffic. And it's really agile. It feels light. It weaves through the traffic beautifully, and it felt nicer to ride than the Classic and the Meteor for me. Anyway, I enjoyed this more. The smaller wheels and the different frame design also mean that it's a lighter bike. So it's something like 15 to 20 kilograms lighter than the other two. Again, that makes it more manoeuvrable, but also that 20 horsepower engine has a bit more pep in this, so you can feel the difference when you're accelerating and giving it some beans. It definitely feels like it's got a little bit more go than the other bikes, which is a very good plus point. Again, when you're on the move, front suspension was pretty soft, and that was nice and comfortable. Brakes, excellent for a bike of this size, no issue there. The clock on the front, just a single clock, dead easy to read. Basic functions on there, nothing fancy really. Just works, tells you everything you need it to do. There's trip computers, fuel gauge, and it does tell you what gear you're in as well, which for a lot of people, this might be their first sort of bike having passed their tests. Quite handy to have that there as well. So yeah, it does everything it needs to there. Switch gear is the same as on the 350 Classic and Meteor, and is solid and simple enough to use, no issues with that. Seat, very comfortable, nicely stitched, love the detail on that, looks great. And I enjoyed riding this. Negatives, there was a couple. Front end is great. Rear end was really a bit harsh, actually. So going over the B roads, it felt too firm, and it was a little bit harsh on the ride. And I have read other reviews that sort of agree with that as well. This bike is designed primarily for emerging markets for Royal Enfield. So a lot of those Far Eastern countries probably be two up on this, or maybe even carrying luggage on it as well. So I think the suspension's set up beautifully for that if you've got more weight. But for a single rider, it felt firm. If I was buying one of these, I'd change those out and adjust those for a bit more comfort. And the only other thing was that, say you're in third gear, you're doing 40 miles an hour, the revs are building up. You did feel some buzzing through the seat of your pants on this bike. I didn't notice it on the other ones, but I did on this. So if you do rev the engine hard or ride it a bit more sort of fruity, if you like, you will feel some vibrations through the seat. But again, overall, it was a really comfortable bike. price of these, what, £3,899 they're listed out on the Royal Enfield website. So they're a little bit cheaper than the classic that we looked at before. So value for money, top notch, styling brilliant, rideability excellent. For me, I really, really like this bike. So how does this compare to the Interceptor that we've now got? Because I think it's an interesting comparison. I thought that the Meteor and the Classic, I felt underwhelmed with those, and I was so much more impressed with the Interceptor on how it rode. Obviously it's got more power, but it's I think this actually sits far closer to that in terms of enjoyability and how you ride it, and rideability as well. I really got on well with this bike in the short sort of time that I've had it. The gear change, like the Interceptor, is really slick and easy, dead easy to get through the box. Clutch, really light. The fueling was great and excellent, so even slow traffic through town, it wasn't jerky or anything like that. Really easy to get on with, again, which is a good trait of the Interceptor. So I think it sort of compares favourably, and obviously it's considerably cheaper than one of those that just, like I said, £3,899 these start at. So such good value for money. And like the Interceptor, great build quality as well. So compared, when you're at this price point, you're in the realms of some of the Chinese built bikes that you get that are sort of branded up in different ways over here. And they're sort of between £3,000 and £4,000 for a 125 or a 250. This is the same price as those, and I think it's far more better finished, more rugged if you like, and more solid built than any of those that I've seen recently, particularly when I went to Motorcycle Live and saw some of the offerings there. So I think for value for money, it is superb. It's also got some handy features. So getting into the under the seat is actually better than on the Interceptor. So it's a similar process. You just go in the panel here. This pulls off quite simply on there. So you've got all your relays and fuses, battery. It's slightly easier to get actually on this than it is on the Interceptor. There's a little pull here for the seat. That pops up. Off it comes, dead simple. So easy to get at, you can see everything there. There's a lot going on under here, all these modern electronics on these bikes, the air filters and fuel injection and so on, but easy to get at and get to any maintenance you might need to do on the battery or swapping a fuse. So that's good as well. And it's not, again, it's just finished well, so you can't complain really. I suppose the final thing to say about this in terms of features is how economical they are. So what, you could do 90 to the gallon quite easily if you're just cruising about, which again is really frugal, makes it cheap to run, and it's just another great feature really. Who does it appeal to? Well, I think older guys that want a lighter bike, easy to manoeuvre around, it's great for that. People that have just passed their tests, so you just come off your learner bike, this is your great next step up to give you a bigger bike feel. And I think younger riders, this will appeal more than the Meteor or the 350 Classic to younger guys who want something a bit more modern looking. And yeah, there it is. I think it's a great little bike. And I think Royal Enfield, again, I've got another winner on the hands with this one.